All right, welcome to another exciting episode of On Location. This is where we try to bring you people who are out there doing it on the front lines, major events, small events, different kinds of events. So don't forget to check out all of them because each one of them is different and each one of them has some unique pieces. Even if the players are the same, you're going to see them on different places learning different things. So today we have Frank Scacciaferro. Frank, welcome.
Hello, how are you?
Frank just got done with the U.S. Open, but that's not what we're going to talk about. Prior to the Open, Frank was in Tokyo doing the Olympics. And I had to wait till he was done with the Open because he came right from the Olympics. It was home for like 2 days and then went right to the Open. So
Yeah.
we got him, and I want to talk about the Olympics because that is obviously one of the major stages in broadcast. And congratulations on getting that gig.
Thank you.
And there's a couple of stuff. I don't know. We have a short amount of time to cover a lot of information. So I'm going to start with the actual production side because that's what we're supposed to do. But I really want to hear from the culture side because that was completely unique for you.
Yeah.
So first off, how'd you get this gig?
I actually, it's funny, 'cause I got it through Fletcher, which is like the robo company, but it was because of I worked the U.S. Open last year, um, and I guess did well on that job. And Mike Musselman, the guy that like kind of runs the whole trace program for U.S. Open, which is this whole tracking robotic system that we talk about it when we do the Open one. At the end, like when we were hanging out, one of the nights he was just at, like we were talking about stuff and if I wanted to do more things, and then he was just like, he was just like, do you have a passport? I was like, yeah. He's like, cool. He's like, we might need people for the Olympics next summer. Like, if you're interested. I was like, yeah. Like, tell me whenever you want me to go, and I'm in. Yeah, I guess like so a lot of people, because they had the NBA bubble and then the NHL bubble and all that stuff, they were spread pretty thin. I mean, not to say that I maybe wouldn't have been asked anyway, but
Yeah,
yeah.
no,
I mean, the
that is.
opportunity came up.
It's hard for people to understand, but that is literally how this business works and
Yeah.
has worked for years. Is recommendations. You do a gig with somebody, you meet some people, something else breaks, your first call on that. And, you obviously, what's interesting, the U.S. Open for you last year was the first time you've done anything like that. And you succeeded, you did well. And there you go, you're in Tokyo. So, one of the obvious questions is language barrier. So, was that an issue? How did that work?
Um, Definitely an issue at first, and then starting to like utilize Google Translate on your phone, which is like was a lifesaver out there because you can speak into it and it'll change it into Japanese or vice versa. For like you can just have someone else speak into it and then it'll translate it to English. But also, I mean, just like ordering off of menus and or like looking at a sign and not knowing like what it is, you can use like the Google Translate has you can just point your camera at it and it'll translate the text or the character. So yeah, I mean, if I didn't have that, it would have been a totally different experience probably.
Oh, there you
But
go. This episode of On Location brought to you by Google Translator.
yeah.
When you're on the road, you can't do without it. All right, so let's get into it. So you get into Tokyo. Give us a real quick summation of what that was like traveling into the country. Also, we're still playing with COVID.
Yeah.
So how did all that play out?
I mean, leading up to it was a kind of a mess. I mean, anybody that worked it this year, having to get COVID tests like 3 times before you left, you had to be vaccinated and have all this paperwork and all these things leading up to traveling, and then have it on you when you get into the country. And I was in the airport for probably, I would say, close to 2-3 hours. Like
Wow.
once I got to Tokyo, like we had to go to all these different stages of showing this paper and then that paper and then getting approved for that, and then we got a COVID test when we were there, and then had to wait for the results. But I mean, it's like people pouring in from all over the world. I happened to walk in with like the Italian team of something, so I was like behind them in line of all these different stages. But because of my last name, somebody read it right after I was walking in with them and started speaking to me in Italian. And I was like, I'm not with them. I was like, I'm not dressed in a Armani jumpsuit and have the suitcase and everything. I was like, I'm just from New Jersey. I was like, I do not speak Italian. But yeah, I mean, once we got through all that, it was cool. Like, and then we got bussed everywhere or a taxi or whatever. Like, it was all like the efficiency of all of that and moving people that were coming from all over the world into this one place. The efficiency of the actual people of Tokyo, the volunteers that did all this, as far as the travel and all the people that volunteered to be working with the Olympics, was it was really good. There wasn't really at any point where I felt lost or like had no idea what was going on. It was like every 20 feet there was somebody kind of pointing you in a direction or holding a sign or whatever.
Awesome. That there's something I want to talk about, but I'm going to hold off till later about the size of the gig itself and what all that's about. So now let's just say you land, you unpack, you're all set, blah blah blah, and you get into a set and build days leading up to the tournaments. So tell me a little bit about what that was, and let's move it along.
Right. Yeah. So I mean, I was doing me specifically that the sport I was doing was golf, and it's not it's not like you work the entire Olympics. Like my crew was specifically working on golf, which was the men's tournament one weekend and then the women's tournament the following weekend. But yeah, we had, I don't know, probably a full week of setting up, week and a half maybe. I mean, it sounds like ridiculous that it's that much, but that it's that long, but we probably took almost every one of those days to fully set. I mean, a lot of the pictures that I have here are, we were building stuff from scratch, not even just the cameras and like the heads that the cameras go on and all that kind of stuff, but then building these big platforms and trusses and then a piece of speed rail on top of that, which then the camera gets mounted to. We built all of those behind 12 different tee boxes, which if you're watching golf or if you've ever seen golf, that's like the camera that we built back there. There's a thing next to it, which is the TrackMan, which actually, they work in tandem to give you that like tracer line, which is actually a different company. It's funny. Tracer and TrackMan are two different companies, and they do use both. The tracers they put on top of the handhelds when they're in the middle of the fairway, but these specific things are the TrackMan ones. So yeah, we had those on 12 tee boxes. I think we had 22 cameras total. So we had all of those, then like one in the scorer's room, which is where the players would go to give their official scores. It's kind of more like a security camera looking shot. And then like a bunch of beauty cameras, one by the driving range, and there's 6 of us. And we're setting up all these cameras. So like, wow. It's also like, yeah, not even just the camera. It's not even just the cameras that get to be built. You got to build the operating stations for all of these different cameras. You got to build, you're moving fiber. You got to set up the actual like IP address for the actual cameras to like the CCUs, which are the camera control, like the remote controls that go inside the truck that the video guys would work with. So I mean, it's just and we're also on a golf course, so it's like not everything's not right, right around you. It's also like figuring out the golf course while we're also trying to like build stuff, like looking at a map of the course, and then you get to a spot where it's like it's a dead end, and they don't want you driving on the grass because it's an Olympic course. So yeah, I mean, just the navigating of that, and then trying, having to build everything. It was very
I noticed, not to cut you off, but I noticed there were, and I noticed in your pictures, there's a lot of cameras all over. I saw some that were up on a real high truss. There were some that were on what looked like a riser. Then there were some that were on that small platform. Then I saw something, don't know what it was. It looked like a gopher hole buried in a bush somewhere.
Yeah.
Kind of walk us through what each one of those are, because we do have, you do. You have pictures of each one of these things.
Right.
So what am I looking? Oh, and before I start, this isn't wireless, these cameras.
No.
So you had a cable to everything. Where's the cable?
Right. So they had like little hubs, all like fiber hubs. And mind you, all this stuff had been built for a year because it was the Olympics was supposed to be in 2020, even though it says Tokyo 2020. It was the following summer. So I mean, the entire place was already built for this, and like the infrastructure of building these little hubs, fiber hubs, which is where we cabled to. So there'd be, I don't know. I wasn't so much involved in that, but there was probably about, I want to say, close to 10 hubs, which were literally like cabins, like huts, like that had racks in them and fiber connectivity, and that's how everything got connected throughout the entire golf course and then got back to the truck. So depending on where we were, the three of the holes that we were setting up, you know, three of those cameras that were close to that, it's like, I mean, this is all mapped out in like paperwork that we got weeks prior. And it's like, okay, these three cameras are going to run to hub A or whatever. And then from there, that's how it gets routed back to.
And the cables are buried or the cables are flying?
No, they're buried.
Oh, okay. So that was all pre-done too.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Well, so it gets all, yeah. I mean, and when I say buried, I mean, other than the one picture where we're actually dig for those bunker cams, which is the one in the hole in the sand, those we actually had to physically dig a trench, like under the grass, like weeks before. So then it grew back and was fine. I mean, digging just a trench and burying cable. But yeah, for all the other ones, the T-box ones, like there was fiber boxes brought to our position, and then that went back to those hubs.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So, all in all, like I said, these different cameras. Just give us a quick overview of what each camera was being used for, and everything is remote, right? There were no operators.
No. Yeah, not
Okay.
one operator. Everything was all robo.
So again, tell us a little bit about what these different positions were, as far as
Right.
their shit.
Yeah. So there was, like I said, we did 12 tee boxes. It's funny, I can almost probably remember every single tee box that we did. But this is just unnecessary. So yeah, 12 tee boxes, and those were pretty much just static shots. Like they did because they don't want them to move, because then that screws up that whole tracking system of like the ball flight. But every morning, they, during tournament play, like they move the tee boxes, whether they move and mark them either to the left or to the right, or they move them. There's 4 different spots where they could have tee boxes, but we have to be within a certain distance of them. So we were actually going around every morning following the 2 guys, like the officials that were marking the tees every morning, and we would just kind of trail them and then have to move that giant piece of truss, which is the base is probably 150, 200 pounds, just the base, just the plate. Then you have these like 4 articulating feet that go in it, so you can kind of, if we needed to be on like a hill or something like that, and we would just pick that thing up with like 4 guys and move it to wherever we need to go. Sometimes they were really small moves left to right, or sometimes we were jumping 2 or 3 tee boxes, which are, could be 40 yards ahead.
Wow.
And it has to be
you couldn't use a high-low or any other thing because you can't drive on the field.
Right, yeah, exactly. We're not doing that. Plus, like, there's play going on. After they mark like the first, second, or third tee box, like they start at 7:30, so they're still marking the other holes as like guys are teeing off on the first couple holes.
Oh wow.
So it's not like a huge rush, because it takes a while to play a couple holes and that, but still it's like we want to get set, and it's like we have to be perfectly center, or else it doesn't work. Like, you don't want the trace line going across someone's body or something like that. So we're on the phone with people who are back looking at the actual image, moving it, like, getting it within an inch of where it is supposed to be.
So tell me about your crew. I mean, with these guys that travel together, they do this together. How did that all play out?
Yeah, so a lot of them, I'm trying to think how many of them. Two of them I worked the U.S. Open with last year. So, and we knew that, I knew who my crew was going to be when I got there, or at least knew names. The guy in charge basically was Brian Lavelle. He's staff of Fletcher. He lives in Chicago. Then kind of one of the second guys like in charge who does, he travels. He's been a Fletcher guy forever. His name's Jay. He lives out of Houston. Then Ollie, who's he's out of the UK. I worked with him last year, and then just worked with him recently again this year at the Open. And he's actually in a lot of the pictures with the trusses that I'm talking about that go behind the tee box, because that's how we were. Once we built something somewhere, I was taking a picture every single time, so I knew which ones we already did. So I could just refer back. Yeah. And it's funny because after the third picture, I was like, he was going back and he was like, which ones did we do? And I wasn't getting the number of the hole that we were on. So we had to go back and take other pictures because I wasn't putting there's a big purple thing that says what hole it is, how far it is, and all that kind of stuff. And I forgot to get him in. It just became now it was just like a thing we were doing, was taking pictures of him holding a hammer in front of each tee box. And then this other guy, Joel, from South Carolina, he handled a lot of like more of the fiber stuff, and he does golf all the time. So he knows a lot of the truck guys, and he's just was kind of friends with everybody, and so that's good to have. Then me and this other guy, Jason Curl, who came from Skycam, who's never really worked with robos other than Skycam, just started in television a few years ago. He was like he like fixed and like cleaned and like worked on turbines, like big huge turbines.
Well, I can see how you go from turbines to
because in Skycam stuff, you're scaling the size of arenas, the stadiums, and all that kind of stuff. So you have to be certified a climber. So he kind of rolled right into that. But he was great. It was cool to be in a position like he was like asking me stuff and kind of learning from me at certain points. But then at the same time, I'm still learning from all those guys of certain things that we're doing. But everything that I knew how to do, Jay or whatever was just like, all right, well then you guys do that. You kind of be in charge of that, which was building all of the actual cameras, from putting the lens onto the camera onto the actual robo head, and like getting all the guts cases, which is
right,
the road case that goes with each package, that has like the fiber box and all the communication that goes into that from the camera down to the box, and then that back there. So we put all of those together, which I have a video actually of me building like from scratch one of those.
Yeah, I want to go into the tech real quick, but I do want to just back up a little bit, because obviously you throw out a lot of terms that are common knowledge to you, but not to anybody else. Skycam, behind the sky, all of that. If anybody's at a stadium, for most events, that camera that's cabled, that's flying around, football, it's evident all over the place. There are operators who one flies that, one shoots that, and those are the cable guys. But the reason Frank said you got to be a certified climber, and most of the guys over all the years I've done this, all of them are mountain climbers. That's kind of where they started pulling these from. And a quick backstory, they put that together in mountain climbing. They ran those across a valley from a mountain to a mountain, and that's where that camera first got used and played. It was shots that nobody had ever seen before. So those guys are all climbers. Yeah. And what Frank was saying, that kind of is a strange evolution. But as I always say, you don't know what you know is going to be appropriate as evolution and as the industry keeps moving forward. Right. All right, let's go to some technology. Two things I want to ask. Where did the audio come from?
The audio?
There was audio during play.
Oh yeah, the same way that we built all of our cameras, then there's like the whole similar type of thing, but for they would put two mics on the tee box facing inwards towards like where the person would be hitting from, and they would do the same thing. We would basically follow each other around all morning, and so
there's a whole audio.
There's a whole completely different. I mean, it's just the audio guys, but they're not connected with us or anything. They're not running through our, any of our cabling or any of our fiber or any stuff
Oh,
like
so all that whole thing routes from the mics all the way back to the control room separate,
Yeah.
and then
Like they,
obviously gets married there.
yeah. I mean, yeah, they have their own connectivity and all that stuff, and whatever their runs were, I don't know exactly what they were, but I know
Yeah.
they just had their own separate stuff.
And just real quick, the size of this control room, the actual, not your operation area, but the network control room, wasn't a truck,
Yeah, it was.
was it?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. They're trucks.
Because
They're
I
trucks
had
like
heard
that.
that
They
they
got
had
shipped.
built, I heard they had built a separate control room, again, back in 2020.
They may have, but it might have not been for golf.
Oh, I see. Yeah, I'm talking about the actual network broadcast.
Yeah, I don't. I mean, all of our stuff came from everything went back to a truck, and that's where the director was in the truck, and that's where everything came out of. But like the distribution of everything came from the, oh man, what was it called? I mean, that was like the main hub for the entire Olympics, where like every single feed, and I think I included a couple of those pictures actually, of like every single feed coming into there, and then that's where everything got distributed to like the entire
Okay,
world.
that may have been what when people were telling me about the control room, because they
Yeah,
were running all these separate streams that you
yeah,
could tag into,
yeah,
end users could use.
right.
So yeah, that's probably what you just said.
Yeah, like I think each local event, each individual event had their own truck or some type of way that they're cutting their own show, but then all of those feeds go back to that one hub, the IBC, the International Broadcasting Center. That's what like the IBC is like
Right.
the main thing for any Olympics, right? And that's where like all these feeds would come back into, and there's a whole logging station of just, I mean, and then there's that one, there's a picture in there that I have is just like a wall of monitors, which is literally any feed you could ever imagine that's going on in the Olympics.
Cool.
Yeah.
Real quick, Frank, you've done a lot of big gigs. You've done a lot of big shows. To scale, how big is the Olympics in comparison to other things?
I mean, I think I had said, maybe we spoke while I was out there. I don't even remember. I feel like this was 2 years ago. Anyway, just because like of so much that's happened after that, and I had no chance to really breathe, after coming back and going right to another gig. But yeah, I mean, like just thinking about like just our show, just golf, right? Like one event in the entire Olympics, and we were very segregated than all the other ones because we were about an hour drive outside of the city, and we were playing golf. So and I mean, just that show alone, you think about all the trucks that come in, all the gear that's been shipped in, like outside of our 20-something cameras and all of our gear, support gear that goes along with us, there's also like an entire show of cameras. I mean, it's not only us. I mean, it's still like, that's how they cover golf. I mean, there's probably, I don't know, 60-something cameras on the entire show.
Wow.
And then you think operators for all that. Then all the PAs, like local student PAs or people that traveled in. Then like all the catering and all that kind of stuff, and the support staff that comes along with all that, whether they be local or people from OBS, which is out of Spain. So you have a lot of Spanish people. I mean, just like it was insane to just think about that, just that one show, transportation of getting everybody there, and then and then you're like, oh my God, this isn't like just this event.
Right.
I mean, we were probably one of the bigger events, just of massive gear and people, but still, like all the others, I don't know how many events there are in the Olympics, but it's insane to even think about.
Right. That's why I asked, because I mean, you think about what you did is a Saturday network show that goes on every week when they cover Golf Channel, NBC. They all do, and that's just this.
Yeah.
As you said, compared to a ginormous bunch of those all going on simultaneously and all have to be supported and all have to be pulled together. Yeah. That's why when people were talking about with COVID, they were going to cancel the Olympics. I said, the infrastructure, all that, they're going to find a way to make this happen because the loss has got to be staggering.
Yeah, they had to. I mean, and it's funny because I know a lot of people and a lot of stuff on the news, like and whatnot, that people were saying that like the locals, like people of Tokyo and all that kind of stuff, didn't want anybody coming, and that they were going to be mad because they weren't allowed to go as fans or like viewers of the Olympics or guests or whatever. I mean, I didn't feel any of that. Like, I mean, after our 14-day quarantine, which was the first 14 days we were there, we were just going directly from our hotel to the venue every day, and you're not really allowed to go anywhere else. Which was its own, just kind of crazy thing to be stuck in another country and you're not really seeing any of it. It doesn't really feel like you're anywhere.
Right.
But then after that, I mean, we traveled, if we were getting out early or we had a few days off like here and there. I mean, I was traveling all over the place, like going on subways and like using their whole train system, taking taxis places and just like exploring, outside of work stuff. You're also just in a different country. But I never felt any of that, like,
hostility or
hostility or animosity or any of that kind of stuff from any local people. I mean, they couldn't have been more accommodating, whether they knew you were there for the Olympics or not.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, I mean, it was just a cool place to visit anyway. And then
you kind of walked into the next segment. I was hoping we had time. Before we do that, I noticed the trusses that you had cameras like up on a truss that looked substantially high. And I noticed somebody was climbing the truss.
Oh, yeah.
That is unusual.
So that guy, that's Jason, the guy from Skycam.
Right.
And so like that was like, he was like, I don't even really need to wear a harness for this, but you have to.
I was going to ask you. He had no safety gear on.
Yeah. I mean, because that one was that time he had a harness on in that picture.
Oh, okay. I guess I couldn't see it.
Once it was built, like because you have to build it up there, and like he's mounting it, and like I said, this was his first time working with robos, but he was the only one that. I mean, we're on like the 4th story, and then 6 feet in the air after that, on the corner of a building, that's overlooking the 18th green. Yes, I mean, it's pretty, if you're afraid of heights, like, you're going to be freaked out. Like, it's high. But, like I said, this guy works on, like, would climb around on, like, turbines I don't even remember where the hell he's from. But once it was built up there, also, real quick, we all had to take a working from height course and get certified, which I have. I can actually, I'll include a picture as well. I have a picture of it, and it looks like an ID. It has my picture, and then everything's in Japanese. So I'm a certified working at height over, 20 feet or 12 feet or something like that. But I mean, like the first day we got there, we took this whole course with, 15 people. A lot of people had experience, or like I said, Jason is a climber. That's what he does. But, I don't do that often. I might climb up 20-foot ladders and build something on top of a basketball hoop, but like we don't wear harnesses when we do that.
That's crazy.
So now I have this idea. Yeah.
I want to get to you. Talk about the accommodations. You mentioned the 14-day quarantine, which was like like any of us who worked the bubbles during 2020. That's literally what it was: hotel, venue, test. Well, actually, test going into the venue, back to the hotel, and you stayed there until that was that. So you had that experience. You had your first 14 days of that, which was also welcome to stadium tours for a band, because that's when everybody says, oh, so cool, you get to go to all these places. No, you don't. You go to a hotel, you get in a bus, you go to the venue, you go back to the hotel, you pack your bag, you get back on a plane, and you go somewhere else.
Yeah.
And the only time you know where you are was when you look out in the audience and see what they look like. Meeting people from all over the world, because that's another unique part of work in the Olympics. Talk a little bit about that interaction, with the crew, with other workers. You had mentioned one of your PAs was local.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I thought if anybody was going to ask me about how was Tokyo and how was the Olympic, I thought, that was the coolest part. Was like, I've worked with a lot of people from all over the country here, some people out of the country here and there on some stuff, but this was like, this is a whole different thing. I'm like, every part of the world like I was meeting new people every day, whether it be local people that live there, like you said, the one couple of the PAs that were local, or like a bunch of people from Spain, because that's where OBS, who's like in charge of the whole Olympics, basically, that's where they're out of. But then you have, I mean, from camera guys to audio guys to directors, like people from the UK, people from Australia, people from, like I said, Spain, Germany, like I can't, yeah, like just everywhere in the world. I can't even remember exactly where everybody was from, but just listening to new accents every morning on the bus, on packed bus or whatever, sitting next to somebody else, and then it's like, oh, where are you from? And then you open your mouth, and it's, oh, you're from Australia. So just having those interactions every day, but the good part about meeting, what you mentioned, one of the RPAs, a few of them, I mean, they're younger kids, they're like they're in college or mid-20s or something like that have either most of them are still in school and then they volunteer, but they get paid, and then they try to work the Olympics. But it was cool having a couple more local people because they spoke the language, they understood the culture. So then, like, if we were to go out or we want to try to go like shopping or whatever, they also speak English very well. So they're kind of translating and helping navigate and do all that kind of stuff. Plus, they know the area. So I mean, it'd be like going out with somebody coming here from there, coming to New York, and then I could bring them around easily and navigate all that kind of stuff. So yeah, I mean, it was just that was definitely the coolest part of all that.
All right, last question because we're running out of time. What about the food? What the hell did you eat?
A lot of rice. Their breakfast is very different of what and I'm talking like at the hotel breakfast. So like for the first week during our set, they had like a 7 a.m. buffet breakfast every morning that like this one woman would basically make, one older woman who started. I mean, there's only a few of us in the hotel we were staying at, so we got friendly with them and trying to pick up phrases and speak to them in Japanese, which is kind of cool, just learning things here and there. And then just eating whatever their accustomed breakfast is. I mean, there was a point after like day 5 in a row of the same kind of stuff. I was just like, man, I want like a breakfast sandwich and like on a bagel or something.
So what was it?
I honestly don't even know a lot of it. They would have like usually like one fried egg. I have a picture of it which we could put up. Fried egg, maybe some type of like dumpling soup, always rice, then like a salad, like a small salad. This is all breakfast on like some weird type of, not sausage, but some type of meat that it was. I don't know. I kind of like stuck to like 3 things that I would eat, and then like I didn't really touch a lot of the other stuff. But they would have like a raw piece of, like not raw, but like a piece of salmon.
Right.
These aren't huge quantities of stuff, but it's just like it's like a little buffet plate that she would make for you.
Yeah.
So yeah, just completely different. And I got used to eating every single meal with chopsticks also, so I got pretty good at that.
How about the sushi?
Phenomenal.
Yeah.
Absolutely phenomenal. Me and Ollie found one day this like small little sushi spot, but it was like all, like you basically just sit at a little bar, like a circular bar, and it's like on the conveyor belt stuff, but it's just 2 dudes in the middle, like just cranking out fresh sushi and just putting it on plates, and you just take the plates off of there and you stack them, and the color plates are how much each thing is worth. That's how they know how much you had.
Oh, that's nuts.
So it's like we ate, like I thought we ate, I don't know, $50 each of sushi. Yeah. The entire bill was like $25 for both of us.
Crazy.
And we're like, and it's like probably the best sushi I've ever had.
I hope so. I hope it works.
Yeah.
If anywhere you're going to get good sushi, it's go to Italy and get good Italian food.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah.
All right. So. I got to wrap this up. Frank, thanks. It was awesome. We'll get you back on real quick, and we'll go through the U.S. Open. Most of it you've already gone through. So you did it last year. You're back again this year. The only thing you had more experience with this year than you did any other time was weather. Weather was pretty whacked.
Yeah.
That's when all the hurricane came through. That's when a lot of that stuff. So we'll
Um,
touch base real quick. Next step.
Yeah, and obviously nobody would probably know this unless you're from Japan, but this hat is the Tokyo Giants. That's their Major League Baseball team.
Oh, look at that! I had no idea what it was. I thought it was a skater hat.
Nah.
Tip your head. Oh, wow, that's cool.
Yeah.
Go down a little bit more. Awesome.
The Tokyo Giants. So I
Tokyo Giants.
couldn't get out of there without having a.
All right, big fan.
Yeah.
All right, cuz, thank you. Appreciate it.
All right.
See you later.
See ya.